dedicated with a discussion around the number of councillors on the investment committee, because currently we have 9 councillors on that committee. And what I'm proposing to you today, sorry.
While we're sorting the technology, I will.
Member Peter, happy to second that from the chair. I don't think we need any
It's
discussion.
number 3, Chairman, is it?
That's just number 3.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, which is the handout I've got for councillors. So if we just pass that around.
So we're still on the same page, it's recommendation.
Oh, sorry, not
No,
2.3. Right.
So moved and seconded, I'll put the recommendation. Say aye.
Aye.
Right, now we move to item 4, which is appointing councillors XXX to the investment committee. I'm happy to stand aside, so for a start, and so we'll take Morris, then Peter.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, while you might think I'm advocating for myself at this stage, but I do think the chair of the Finance and Performance Committee should be one of those members because the two committees are quite closely linked. And this would be something that would start at the beginning of each term. That would be known that chair would be on that committee as well. Just because the two committees do, they obviously are quite closely related. As far as the other two persons, I would suggest that they be the deputy chairperson. At the moment, we've got Lyndall and Jeremy, but that might be different in the future. But I do think it's important that the chairman of the Finance Committee is there.
Thanks for that, Morris. Peter?
Yeah, myself, I'll accuse myself on that. I'm not interested. I think all the hard work's been done and the good work's been done by the setup of it. But I would also like to say not so much what Morris said, it's more about the continuity. We've got an independent chair and member too. We want to show them some continuity through. So I think it should be a mix of experience, of two experienced one and a first term councillor on there too. So it's just my view.
Eric?
Yeah, well, I'd offer myself. It's an area I've got some interest in. And from an investment point of view, can I say I did on one occasion set up my own super fund because I thought I could outperform anybody else because I was a member of Parliament at the time. It had, what I was doing had to stand the scrutiny of the government actuary. I have quadrupled my investment in there, so I do have some understanding of that. councillors may not be aware of, if this committee is discussing as part of what the new accommodation might be, and there's some discussion about that, I have also done project management. I'm currently chairing a community project to do an extension to a community asset in the $5 to $6 million range. So my head's all around cost per square metre and renting and leasing and a whole lot of those things. But I think one of the big things that I offer is the politics of this. We're going to do some stuff with our shareholding in the port. We may be shifting, we may be doing something else. I think I understand politics pretty well about getting messages over the line. So can I just offer those things as for your consideration?
Lyndall.
Thanks, Chairman. Yeah, I'm really interested in continuing my work with this in this space, having been involved in appointing a good number of Southport directors over the years, also, and as third in line to, in leadership space and as chair of the Strategy and Policy Committee. But I also acknowledge that Peter's, Councillor McDonald's point about a good mix and some continuity. So, and would make the point that although I'm really keen to be on the committee, anybody can come to the committee meetings. Yeah, with that in mind, expressing my interest at that point. Thank you.
Paul.
I would just like to say that I'll drop out of this. There's plenty of other people here that are going to cope with it.
Look, I think, this committee is going to run for what, 6 months? There'll be new council next year who will
exactly.
quickly write that. So I'm keen. You see, you're keen.
Next year or now.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the junior.
It's fine.
Jeremy?
I look, I won't put my CV out.
Hi.
It's good. But I probably do look at Morris that there is a connection to the finance side of things. No matter who is the finance chair, it's certainly interlinked, and if not now, but definitely in the future, that would be probably something that maybe the chair of the finance committee should be on it. Like I've been involved in all this, and probably spent, as people know, they get sick of me talking about numbers and looking at all our investments. So I have a fairly good idea of what we need and what the community needs to, and expectations from the community. But that's all. So I don't know how many we've got, but
Indications are there's more than 3. Do you want to have a secret paper, like paper, or just want to use hands?
No. I just, if I could, Mr. Chairman, just know, there's been appeals for votes, and I just want to know, we talked about continuity, how that is important. So it probably reflects back now for me to think straight away, continuity, who's putting themselves forward in the next election. Because I wouldn't like to see people influence the start of this committee and then not do it this time. So if there's a commitment that can be made by the ones wanting to get onto the council, that would help me guide my decision. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm undecided, 50%, but I would say, in defence of me putting myself forward, the first 6 months in the establishment of this thing are quite crucial. And I don't think you want 3 people in that all going to retire at the same time as well. And so some kind of rotation of personnel on there, I think, is important. But I can't give you a commitment that I will stand, or that if I did stand, I'd be elected.
yes.
I'm sure you will. More.
I'm in the hands of the voters.
Well,
is the thing.
You only
I'm
need to
happy
put
to-
your name on the ballot paper.
What's that?
Like is that a question, or is that
Oh, well,
are
it-
you asking? Sorry, just to
probably gives a
clarify.
wee bit of certainty around, like if we to vote for someone and then they put themselves forward for elections, we know.
There's no certainty.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, can I suggest that we have a vote on this? And we have a pass a piece of paper around and people write the names of 3 people down who they think should be on it.
Second for that?
I was
Just do it.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Maybe do show of hands.
Chairman, I'm happy to step away if that makes it easier, as much as I,
It
you
doesn't
know,
bring us down to three.
well, I know, but, you know, in the interests of, collegiality, I will still go to the meetings anyway. So if that makes the decision easier for my colleagues, then it's fine.
So you've got 5.
Jan, what's procedure is, Mr. Chairman?
Eric,
I've written down, Eric, Lyndall, Alison, Jeremy and Morris.
Would it be easier, Mr. Chairman, if I nominate someone to kick us off?
Well, we need to do that for a start anyway. So we'll get the nominees out there and then we'll decide how the vote's going to be, okay?
Do I nominate councillor Gibson?
Councillor Gibson, seconded by Paul.
and I would like to nominate councillor McPhail.
I'm happy to second that. You second that?
I would like to nominate councillor Morris as chair of the finance. Councillor
Roderick.
I'll second that.
I'll nominate councillor Ludlow.
I'll nominate councillor Roy.
I'm happy to withdraw my nomination.
So,
Suggest the fairest way, so that we don't have to count how many times people have voted, is a piece of paper with 3 names on it.
so you're seconding Morris's suggestion. All in favour of that, say aye.
Aye.
Right, we can get 12 pieces of paper.
Yes, thank you. Would you like some paper too? Give you half of my half. Make it in order.
Paper each.
I got my paper.
3 names. 3 names. Any 3 names?
3 names. Spell. Oh, yeah.
Right, please do it.
Is this about like someone's going to leave the island? So, sorry, the tribe is talking.
Yeah.
You're off.
I
You're off.
don't know. I've never watched it, so I don't know how that works.
Sorry, no, never trusted
The loincloth and go.
you. Put your clothes back on. Thanks.
So
Another voting paper.
Chairman's still got a voting paper.
Oh, yes. Anybody else who hasn't?
One moment, please, Paula.
Oh,
We can probably go back to 10.3 while the voting's kept. Oh, maybe we can.
No, just wait.
What I will do is what the chair is do the handout for
Yep.
item 10.3 now. While we're waiting.
Okay,
We get to vote on the unit. What's this?
What are you doing?
Yeah. Secret pocket. Somebody else wanted it about a month ago.
In the interests of,
Oh, come on, let's get it.
No, I don't do that.
Mine's more like that.
They're not like Mr.
okay, Scotland.
So the successful candidates are Jeremy, Eric and Morris.
Congratulations.
Okay, that completes that item. We'll now return to 2.3 on page 5 of mine anyway. Which is the
You have to, agree to that, the resolution, something.
Do you want me to move that
Yeah, we've got a point.
recommendation 4? Julian, do you want me to move that?
Yes, that
Yeah,
was.
so that's McPhail, Roy, Rodway.
Moved and seconded. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against no.
Yeah.
Okay, we will move to consultation phase 2, rating review, river management funding.
Thank you, Chair. So this item follows on from the item you received at the February meeting where you agreed on a number of options for the phase 2 rating review for engagement. This is the next step in terms of approving the draft statement of proposal for formal consultation. There's a few things here I'd like to take you through, where we might have people online listening. So I'll just spend a bit of time going through the detail which you will have heard before, but for those that may be online as well. So as I said, this item is seeking council approval of the River Management Funding Review Statement of Proposal for consultation. You will be aware we started the rating review in terms of how we fund flood protection and management activities through the long-term plan process last year. And the river management component, council agreed to carry forward, which we've got a wee bit of a
And
is actually, you should have a good, better look at it through the submission process, doesn't it? So
That's right.
there's other options if someone wanted to put other options, and this was their other option, they're more than welcome to submit that.
That's right, and the consultation period will run from the 31st of March to the 1st of May, with plenty of time for further meetings and discussions across that period.
And it's obviously a lot better information. Some of the numbers weren't looking too attractive at times in regards to how it allocates bringing another catchment into place. So I think it's very, I think it's good, regards to the document.
Jeremy, for Peter, then myself. Peter.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, adding them, I suppose, could be a good discussion point, but it's quite clear. This proposal takes us back towards the status quo that we've had, not moving the other way, which this council made a bold decision around capital value. I'm just worried if we start to undo and go back the other direction, back to that 140 rates. And I'm just concerned about that, but what's the harm in having a discussion? I'll just point people back to page 102 when it goes to advantages and disadvantages of the 100%. We've got to remember, we go back to our first principles around this entire process, what were we trying to achieve? It's important while on the journey that we don't undo, forget about that and go all the way back to sort of what we sort of had. Very easy to do that, just start adding bits to it and adding different types of plumbing to it. It's like that power pole that I remember seeing in Vietnam when it had everyone's wiring attached to it. Well, we've got plumbing like that around the farm, but everyone's tapped into everything over the decades, so just be very careful.
Thanks for that, Peter. I'm probably with along the same lines. I think things that are concerning people are transparency and oversight. I think we stick to my personal view is we stick to the catchment base, but I can see no reason why we couldn't have separate meetings with Makarira and Waihapai. They could have that overall budget. They would know each year what was going to be spent. They would be able to have conversations with staff when things are going to be happening. I think that will tick the boxes of quite a few people. I agree that if we make it more complicated, I'm not sure going ahead, and I really want to see us get rid of an antiquated system before we leave this building. If people don't like it, it can be tinkered with in future years, but I think, you know, we're working on catchments, everybody contributes, and I think for some of those factors, and fairness, that's the other thing, the capital-based system does capture everybody, and as most TAs use it. We've worked on land-based for a long time, so I'm pretty happy with the proposal. Submission process, people come in and tell us, so I don't know how much more we actually have to do before we get there. But I'll take Tanya first, then I've got Lyndall and Morris.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to reiterate some of the things that came through as concerns and to clarify them for those that are in the room and those that are watching. There was always the proposal that the RETI, while it might be rated as a greater unit, that the component parts would still have their current operating budgets and committees. So the Makariri committee will continue with its own budget, as will the RETI committee in this proposal, and the proposal to form a Waihapai committee I think has been welcome, and they would be overseeing the Invercargill budget, as small, large as it is. There are also concerns around the reserves, and we've clarified with the committees that the reserves, as per your resolution last year, the reserves are grown and accrued in an area would stay in that area for that committee to use. But there are, I think reassurance has been sought and can be offered around the things that the catchment chairs were looking for. What we're talking today is about the rating, not the budgets or the allocation of the work. So just so that everybody understands, I think we can move, hopefully, towards that understanding.
And I guess I should remind ourselves, including myself, that our minds are still persuasion, because if we can submit, we can't have fixed positions. So, Lyndall, then Morris.
Thanks, Chairman. I firstly wanted to thank the catchment liaison chairs who put in so much time and effort into their proposal, because I think it was well with us considering it, and it certainly gave us some food for thought. But like Councillor McDonald, I'm quite keen to stick to the original simplification and reportioning of payment across the whole region, including industry. Yeah, that's my thought really, and just the point about clarity of role and what they have got control over in the short to medium term. Thanks.
We've got Morris, then Alistair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 102 that Peter referred to before, the fourth bullet point on the right-hand box, which says conversely across the page, lower rates for some. I'm not sure what the page means. Or on the other hand, it means it should be perhaps on the other hand, there would be lower rates for some or something.
Maybe it's.
Is that what refers to?
I can't hear for that.
Just to clarify that.
Across the page, that's a term
Yeah, I'm not sure.
to be
what
used.
across-
It's not physical across the page, across the page or across the region, across the area. I think
Yeah, perhaps it could be a little bit clearer.
We can improve the language. Thanks, Chair, through you, it's in contrast to higher rates for some rate payers and conversely lower rates. It begs clarification.
So with that in mind, Mr. Chairman, is there an opportunity in here, or is it already in here and I've missed it, that the people who will be paying more will be given an opportunity to have input? It says how the catchment committees will still have an input, and that's good. But there may be an opportunity for others as well to have an input now that they're paying a greater proportion of the total amount of rates. So I'd just like to know that that's sort of in there somewhere, that it's clear that that will be something we'll be doing in the future.
I think that's a good idea, and obviously we're going out and talking to groups, people, and there'll be publicity out. But with Invercargill, maybe the chamber would be interested in it.
Yeah.
Presentation. It's a group that we don't get to that often, and I'm certainly in favour of that.
Right.
So who have we got next? We got Alistair, then Peter.
Yeah, I was at that Catchment Chairs meeting. We need to acknowledge them somehow, and like don't change right back to the original rating system. I know this is sort of difficult because they're starting to get themselves together, So, and they're a fairly significant resource to us, and we refer to them often as our information coming in. Can we achieve that and still keep our rating system straight? Or original box, the 100% casino capability? Can we do that?
So we're still going to collect the same amount of money. It's just spreading it in a different way. So it's the influence is still there.
I understand that, but I think Tania's onto
Well,
one.
no, I'm just trying to understand your question relative to the question of the paper, which is, do we include their option or not?
Well, I'm sort of saying that we include something that we've recognised them. I don't think we want to include their option total.
So through you, Chair,
I might be pandering to them.
what we're suggesting is this one page you've received, which outlines the options that they gave us, the modelling that's been done, and that's in the other options considered section. So it's still in the document, the information's there, or we can receive further submissions, but there is also a suggested paragraph, which is, I guess, trying to pick up the matters that the catchment liaison chairs identified, and noting that there might be other mechanisms other than rating for addressing some of those concerns. So what we've got here is it is understood that the underlying driver for the alternative options that were being put forward was to ensure maximum autonomy, transparency and accountability, with the retention of individual committees, work programs, budgets and reserves a priority. And what we're suggesting is that those mechanisms for achieving that should be explored alongside the rating consultation.
Peter.
I think I just want to respond to what Morris said, and he's absolutely right. That alongside rating has to come representation, and as you put a greater share into the urban areas, they will have to have a voice. So I'm sure that'll be a natural process that would come along. One thing I think we have to realise too is that the catchment chairs have a duty to their committees and their areas to advocate on their behalf. We here have a duty to the entire region. So the focuses are somewhat different too, so we have to keep that in mind. And I'd also say, out of last winter's LTP, we did that. We had 3 consultation documents and we took them around the region, and it was pretty clear early on that a lot of those themes within those 3 documents seemed reasonably clear to us because we're dealing with them every day. It did sow a lot of confusion with people. I would just really caution on too many options for people, because this is quite complex stuff getting into all this sort of this area too. So that I think we need to be mindful of that. And and also the higher level thing is why we've done this is because we're going from a works program, from a management program into a works program. And the status quo arrangements that we had regarding rating will not achieve our goals that we need to achieve in the future. So that's the reason why we're moving to that. Anyway, so we've got to keep that. So let's not just slip backwards down the hill too much.
Any further comments at this stage? Jeremy?
I think at the end of the day, so this is going to be in the proposals.
Yes, so what we're saying is
Not
that
as an option, but
Not-
you're putting it.
there'll be 3 key options.
Yeah.
The two options that you have been discussing for some time now alongside status quo, but in the section that is about other options considered, there is discussion, this discussion here, so the information
And-
available.
You need to reflect, like, we're not 140, like, we've dramatically changed things around CV. We've made some huge improvements, but the proof of the inputting is how it's going to get spent. Like, at the end of the day, how these budgets are taken, whether it's localism back into that, I take it that is the river management, they will have their budgets, is that correct? Or is it going to be a regional budget, depending on where we end up?
And under both proposals, councillor, the budgets continue as they are and
Yeah.
to manage the rivers.
Yeah.
So we are still only talking about how we rank for them.
Yeah, so it's a rating that's about collecting revenue.
So each of the committee's budgets, or we should call them the river area budgets or the rating area budgets, will continue as they are. Because each community is unique. The work program on each is unique.
And there's also a different, and I think one of the chairs indicated that if they wanted to rate the community more for catchment work, they still, that's probably not quite as easy, but then again, we could probably do that anyway. But, they did indicate that, like, if they want to help the catchment groups within the area and they want to rate that for that.
There was very good reasons for the 100% proposal, 100% local proposal, and we do acknowledge the desire to have that local community. But as we've said in the analysis, it creates quite a disparity between the large and small again, and differences across the types of ratepayers and the value of their properties. That I felt that the communication from the catchment chairs was very good and very pointed towards they want formal process to be involved in the works program and the budgets. And I think again that's really important. That they're involved early and have standing meetings with the Regional Services Committee, and I think that would be a really important part of our proposal back.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, the proof will be in the pudding on how we work in this due course.
Lyndall?
Thanks, Chairman. So the recommendations for this item are to approve the statement of proposal for consultation and to agree or not agree to include the Catchment Liaison Committee Chair's proposal and to delegate authority to the Chief Executive to make any non-material final edits.
So through you, that third recommendation, we would like to amend to agree to include additional wording in the statement of proposal based on feedback from the Catchment Liaison Committee Chair.
So I'm not sure whether, are we at that point, Chairman?
I think we just better.
Yeah. I'm happy to move for 4 of those, which includes agree to include the additional wording
Material.
from the Catchment Liaison Committee chairs.
I'll second that.
Further discussion?
Yeah, I'll just caution about, it's okay to do that, but we need to be clear down the track when we get into consultation process, the confusion of having an extra side option sitting there away from our 3 headline options.
It'll be the 3rd though, won't it?
It's status quo, regional, yeah, we've got the 3 ones sitting at the top. This is just as I take it, but this
Yeah,
one-
understood, which is kind of why I was questioning, but I'm happy to include it, because we make it clear that we've got a preferred option, do we not? I'm up for.
I think it's been put forward, it's not an official option, but to dismiss it is probably not helpful for our stakeholders, so.
Page 99, as I said, the council prefers the regional option.
Tony.
Can I just clarify, in the statement of proposal, and Stephen can add to this if he thinks I'm off track here, we would have the normal options that we have proposed to be consulted on. And then in the document, we're obliged to consider and discuss other things that we looked at but didn't include and why we didn't include them.
And that's what number 3
And
is,
that's what
right?
this would be. We're
Yeah.
proposing that the Catchment Liaison Chair's proposal would be something that we've evaluated and have not put forward as one of the choices, but it's there for other people to consider and comment on if they disagree with us.
But that's not the status quo.
No, but that was my understanding, yeah.
So that on page 106 of your pack, there was a heading other options considered, and I think, Rachel, that's where you said that this material would
Yeah.
go.
That's
But
correct.
there is transparency, and there's also transparency around concerns about proposal. There may need to be a bit more.
Do we need to make number 3 more clear then, Chairman?
I was just going to ask if Stephen would like to make a comment since he's been.
Thank you, Chair. I think Tanya said it, but the wording of that resolution needs to reflect more so that it's in the document. There's wording that was in that was about representing their proposal, and it's we've assessed it and don't consider it reasonably practicable. So we need to make sure that resolution supports that statement.
Yeah. Do we need option 3?
What's the status quo?
Do we need do we need status quo? I think we
Yes.
probably do.
Probably.
The reason for that, it's reasonably practicable. It's working now.
All right.
We're not recommending it.
To include, can I,
Yeah.
Chairman, can I reword recommendation 3 to say something along the lines of agree to include the Catchment Liaison Committee Chair's option in the other options considered section of this statement of proposal? I know, but do you know what I mean? Because
What would Dan's captured? She might.
Agree to include the additional wording under the other options considered heading in the statement of proposal based on feedback from the Catchment Liaison Committee chairs.
because that's where we want it to go.
That's where it's going, yeah, that's what it
We
says on
considered
that.
it, but haven't accepted it as a proposal. And it says here highlighted at the top of highlighted, council believes these options do not achieve an equitable allocation of costs that is reflected for all the benefit of Southlanders, and that cuts across one of our first principles of the benefit for all and sharing the responsibility.
Councillor McPhail raised a question about whether we do need to continue to include option 3. And as Stephen has said, we do because it's viable and it's working now. I'm wondering whether you might wish to strengthen what is in here to say it was always intended as a transition option, or an interim option as we transition from there while we continue the discussion. So there may be some further strengthening that you'd like to consider.
Sounds reasonable. Happy with that?
Do we need a separate motion to change that number 3 of the recommendation? Does it have to be done separately now?
Just wait for Jan to read out what we've got, and if we're all happy with that.
You received the report consultation phase 2 rating review river management funding, approve the statement of proposal for consultation, agree to include the additional wording under the other options considered in the statement of proposal based on feedback from the Catchment Liaison Committee chairs, and then agree to delegate authority to the Chief Executive. That one stays.
Clear and happy on that? I will put the recommendation. All in favour will say aye. Aye. Against, no, carries. Okay, we will now move to 10.4 annual plan rate setting and information.
Yes, yeah, strategy manager is on sick leave today. So this item sets out an update on the 2025-26 annual plan process and seeks approval of the proposed average rates increase and consultation process. And there is a link obviously to the previous item, rating review separate, but they will ultimately come together when we adopt the annual plan in June. So this year's annual plan is year 2 of our long-term plan, and you might recall our long-term plan has that significant focus on flood protection investment. So this is proposing to continue that focus, but there has been work done over recent months in response to council guidance to reduce the level of rates increase, and that's basically through operational cost savings. So that has taken the increase from 12.9 average rates increase for next year down to 8.8%, in the order of $1 million of cost savings, or operational cost savings identified, and that includes the changes in timing of regional planning processes, the consent monitoring efficiencies that have been identified, and some other efficiency gains across the organisation. So we are proposing that you adopt that rates increase today, and then that we do informal consultation alongside our pieces of formal consultation that are occurring over the coming month. Tania, is there anything you would like to highlight to council?
Yes, thank you, Rach. I'd just like to note that the reduction in income from the marine fees added to our challenges this year with the rates, and added 0% itself to a potential rate increase. And so there was, I suppose, onus on us to try hard to find a way to reduce that impact. And in doing so, we were, I suppose, forced back to look at timelines and budgets, and were able to find savings in those timelines and those budgets. A particular benefit was the reduction in interest rates over the last period since the LGP was adopted. We've been able to secure interest rates as the community has at a lower rate, which has certainly benefited the budget. The capital expenditure program has been slightly lowered and spread out a little over this initial period, and that too has helped reduce the forecast debt. So those two combined saved $400,000 in the budget cost. I think, Rachel, that's the key items, and as you said, there were other adjustments for timing.
Yep, it's all good. But Jeremy will meet with myself.
Yep, look, I appreciate all the work the staff have done It was a hard one because no matter what, these councillors will say we need it cheaper. Reflecting on the number that we put out, it is a budget. And I think Tanya just stole half my explanation when it comes to we rely on investments, Southport, Marine Fee. We've got a highly variable some of those things. So it could go up and it could go down too. So it's our best guess. But it certainly is shown that we have taken consideration and cut back where we can, and but we still have work to do. So I just more or less thinking where we've got to, but in consideration, it's still not going to be low enough. But it is what it is, and I know that we've gone through the numbers pretty hard. Thanks for that.
Thanks, Jeremy. Peter.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, just want a wee bit of caution around this for next term. Obviously, the plan change and all the enormous amount of work that goes into that and around that will be put off to next term. So it's not going away, it's just being deferred. So that's been, to me, that's been a cost, but I just really caution the council too on keeping to our commitments around this capital spend on our flood infrastructure that is so highly important for this region, that we don't continue to rate ourselves down and not get that work done. We need to find a way for that to be started anyway.
No, just following up on that. Thanks to the staff for listening. We know that people are still hurting out there. It's a significant saving on what we projected. And, you know, the future is looking a little bit cloudier. We're told we will not have to, we were reviewing our regional policy statement. That's going to disappear. So some of those costs may not actually land, but I think staff are working really hard. But the other point is the resilience situation. We know it's not a matter of if, it is when that our flood defences will be tested again, and that's a significant part of the cost. You know, your CPI, maybe 3.5%, but actually taking up government money, but having to find 40% of it now and actually pay it is a significant factor. And people will say, no, we can't afford it, but if the houses get wet, they say, you knew you should have done it, and that's one of our responsibilities. So I think this is a pretty balanced budget, so thanks for that. But Neville?
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. Just carrying what you were saying, the flood resilience and the flood banks, we can't keep building them high all the time. We're not going to be able to stop every flood that might come through. But there is an expectation that we will do that, but we simply can't afford it. Physically, we can't do it either. Now, I'm prepared to move the recommendations. I think that 8.8 is a significant advance on the original 12.9, and I compliment the staff and thank them for putting us in this position where we can approve a more moderate rate increase.
Thanks for that, Neville.
Improvement.
Lyndall, you're indicating?
Oh, yeah, look, it doesn't matter. I can talk to Tony about it later. That's fine. I'm happy to second the motion. Recommendation.
Recommendations been moved and seconded. Does anybody else wish to comment at this stage? If not, I will put the resolution. All in favour will say aye. Aye. Against, no. Carried.
Yes.
10.5, consultation fees and charges schedule.
Just in regards, I have a conflict of interest here, so I'm standing quiet in regards to that with my consents and fees.
Okay.
So, I'm happy with me to sit in, or I won't discuss, I won't vote. Is that right?
Yeah, good on you for saying.
All good.
Claire, that's what we say. I'll just sit here with a sad face.
Oh.
Any consents, yeah?
I think Tani will take us through this one.
I'm conflicted too, sir. I can go home. Well, this is just a document for consultation, Chairman. It's not a decision.
Yeah.
It's actually not decision making, but good to actually acknowledge conflicts, but I think quite comfortable to be in the room and yeah.
Thank you, Chair. So a relatively small amount of changes this year compared to previous years, where we've with some quite substantial changes. Very good game of proposal consultation has been prepared outlining the changes. The changes listed, page 121, are largely around text wording. So each year, just to take you perhaps back through the process, each year we circulate all the staff asking, are there changes to be made to your part of the document and what is changing in your area that may need the legislative review and update. As you know, legislation is continually changing, and we have to be current with that at all times. So the staff are always looking for the opportunity to improve the wording and ensure that any confusion that they've encountered with ratepayers or consent holders is reduced as we fine-tune the document. Interesting, the farm plan, I wasn't sure myself whether the charges for farm plan applications were going to be included or not included this year with the changes. We've been advised that they should stay there. And the other thing I wanted to draw your attention to was that there's a new fee being proposed by the compliance teams for gravel monitoring. The current operations is that gravel consent, so consent holders are charged per cubic metre extracted, theoretically, and that pays for the monitoring of the river and the monitoring of the consent. Over the last couple of years, we've moved the monitoring of these consents from the catchment team to the compliance team to ensure consistency and technical capability and to allow the catchment team to do their own work rather than monitoring work. The suggestion and recommendation from the regulatory team is that they create a fixed fee for the consent monitoring rather than this current fee of percent, dependent on size, because it takes the same amount of time to go and monitor a small consent as a large one. The difference might be that you might go twice to a larger consent. So short version, they're proposing a $500 consent monitoring fee for the gravel consent holders. That is, they tell me, a discount on the actual time it takes to travel out and do a consent monitoring. The also recommendation is that the gravel extraction levy per cubic metre remain the same, and that the money involved, and there's a difference potentially of $50,000 a year, be maintained in the budget to be used for the gravel working party and the gravel development of the gravel management group party work that we're doing in that area, because there's a substantial amount of river monitoring required to understand what's going on with gravel and keep on top of that process. So those are the key changes, Chair.
Thanks, Tanya. Morris, then you.
Thank you, Tanya. On page 121 about the coastal occupation charges, why is that only adjusted by the historic consumer price index and not
It's unfortunate or fortunate, depending on what side you're on. It's written into the coastal plan. So one of our own regulations.
Okay.
So in September, we take the annual historic CPI. I understand that as the coastal plan is developed, that our ability to on-charge coastal marine activities to a greater degree will be reviewed, not just the structures.
Thank you.
Neville.
Yeah, just I support the changes in the fees for gravel monitoring, Chairman. It is an issue that keeps rising, and we need to actually have the information to answer the critical comments that are made by some groups. So I think that's a small price to pay to have that. And it's not, doesn't seem to be excessive. Actually, gravel's quite valuable. I'm not sure how many cubic metres have been taken out of anywhere. How do we do that?
Because it's on an honesty system.
Cubic
Surely
metres.
we count each piece, surely.
Oh, sorry, we wait all the way out. No, I support the changes, Chairman.
And I think with gravel under structures being a permitted activity, our guys are still going to have to go in there and do an assessment of what they should be doing, and that's probably an appropriate use of that gravel levy too. Alistair.
Through you, Chair. I just, it's with the fees and scheduled charges. Some of these, I'm going to say Loburn Creek, except for I've got from there. How much did we recover of our time spent there? What was the time? Can we recover that? What goes on? That's all right, I'll go somewhere else.
As I say,
Oh, with all the yields, got yields.
sorry, I didn't know the name. And I can't answer that either, as to what our cost was versus what we're.
Through you, Chair, we can bring that
We
back.
can, yes, but I can't answer this at the moment.
I'm pretty sure we didn't cover our costs at this stage.
Well, and there was a small argument going on regarding the amount that the man was penalised. Well, it cost their ratepayers, and the ratepayers are now putting the money in to subsidise that sort of thing, not only in that case, but in other cases.
I think a response might be coming, but we probably can't talk about it at the moment.
Okay.
It's not, nothing to do with this anyway.
Fees and charges was where I was coming from. I'm a finance man.
I'll move the recommendations given as they stand.
Moved by Neville, seconded by Peter. Any further discussion? I will put the resolution. All in favour, say aye.
Can I interrupt the process for just 1 minute to say that all of these, both of these statement proposals for fees and charges and rates are starting on Monday. The consultation.
Consultation.
Yes, and there'll be a rates calculator or rates estimator online, which we will send you a link to. So just so that you understand the process, it's 1 month from Monday, and the commission hearings, etc., combined for both of these statements of proposal.
Just to be clear, because we have reduced the rates, we're not actually going into consultation on the rate rise, but we are consulting on both the fees and charges and the river rate. So that's the ability for people to consult in that over a month virtually.
That's correct. And through you, Chair, you have previously invited informal feedback on the annual plan where you haven't been formally consulted. So if someone wants to make a statement, will come through to you as well.
Okay, that takes us to 10.7. It's council diary update tomorrow.
Anybody has any updates or changes or leave of absence?
Leave of absence, please, for the 4th of April, 15th of April, 27th of July until the 17th of August. Please.
Any further indications of leave required or meetings that we're not down to work for or need to be entertained?
Chair, on the Monday, the 24th of March, I travelled to Te Anau to speak with the Te Anau Community Board from Southern District Council on the regional climate change working group.
You should be able to claim for that. Yep. Any other meetings? Anybody's been to that's not on the list? Any? Okay, if those are all the changes, would somebody like to
I'll move, Chairman, as amended.
Moved by Neville.
Second.
Seconded by Lyndall. All in favour, say aye. Aye.
Move the common seal.
Yes, item, thank you.
Moving and seconded, there's always a lot of interest in seals. All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
That will conclude.
No, I did flag an issue.
Oh, okay, right, yes, we've moved to your issue.
Yeah, Well, we had a presentation this morning and I believe that it does contravene issues of natural justice. If I can just paraphrase, the three issues that concern me as being inaccurate. The first was a comment that Fish and Game are an unelected body and they have no right to make the rules. I wasn't aware they were a regulation making authority, and that I believe needs corrected. The second thing is the tenure of what was said after that either inferred this council was acting ultra vires outside what we're required to do by Act of Parliament, or we were in the pocket of Fish and Game. And I don't want us to make a decision now, Mr. Chairman, but if this is recorded, I think we should get our legal counsel to have a look at that and maybe a letter in response. Otherwise, you've allowed them to take some space which is not refuted for inaccuracy.
Good point. Lyndall, you would again?
Yeah, thanks. So along those lines, absolutely. And the Chief Executive's response earlier in the day, I think it was in public session, wasn't it? Yes. Regarding the legislative parameters of Fish and Game need to be reiterated to the right parties. But I would also suggest that if we're writing a letter, it needs to be personally delivered so that there can be a conversation as well, because that seems to be what would suit them and us better.
Peter, Phil, then Alistair.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I support that for a leader to go, just to clarify a few things. And I made myself quite clear, I was concerned about the temperature around the region of these issues regarding Fish and Game. I'm worried in the duck shooting season, my full of guns. They're a bit more harmful than fishing rods, I would say. So we just need to take that if we've got an opportunity to take that temperature down out of this discussion, I think we should take it if we can.
Phil, then Alistair, then Jeremy.
Well, I'm just going to ask the question. I support the concept of a letter response. My question is around public transparency of that, because that discussion was made in public this morning. And what's the mechanism by affording public visibility of that letter in response, or is that not?
Let's get some legal counsel on the correct response first. I'm still counting to 10, so I need to make sure I don't overreact, but that's why I suggested some legal advice.
And some letters are made public at the same time, so.
Through you, Chair, just to note that in some situations like this, councils do publish letters on their website, so that may be an option you wish to do.
No. Next, Alistair.
I do think we've got to get these letters, but that's not the guts of it. The guts of it out there is that our ratepayers align themselves with an argument that's going on that's affecting them and their gravel management, and Fish and Game are tied up in it. The process is Federated Farmers are fighting for the farmers, they say, and we're sitting here doing nothing. So let's get some comms out and point out exactly what's going on, what our position is, and how the position of Fish and Game is. Make it clear to the people, because that's where the argument is going on. That's where the fight's going on. That's where the heat's going on. So we've got to educate our people of Southland.
And I think stuff is going on, not quite complete, but actually the gravel under structures will probably be pretty well accepted, received by some of the people who are concerned. And that's still got to be done in a way that is the whole reach of the river, and our guys have got the experience that will do that. Jeremy.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I'm not, if you want to get legal advice, that's fine. We understand. I'd like to hear what Jason said again. One thing though, when I'm just reflecting back on, and obviously it was indicating Fish and Game and there's a non-carpet and doing that, or needs to be factual. Well, did we necessarily at a public function where Fish and Game probably said there was some grey areas in what they had done at a function, chairman's presenting an award. and there were untruths in his speech, which we knew and we were involved with. So have we done the same from being fair in regards to this? So look, I'm happy that if there's been things crossed over, if you've been accused of something, you need to clarify. I think it's education. We've actually stated very, we did discuss about my understanding of how we work with stakeholders, what's our obligations, the right, what can we do, what we don't, and those things is probably more critical, and to bring these other groups in to say very clearly how we work is vitally important. So I'm just, I wouldn't be throwing letters around everywhere just for the sake of, well, you said something bad. Let's just make sure we've got the proper.
Mr. Chairman,
standing legal.
I was at that event too. I didn't see anything untrue except for a poorly managed joke. Anything outside of that,
They stated we do not want every farmer a consent. Yes, have a consent, and that is not correct in the court.
Look, we're getting into a debate here at the moment.
I was just going to say
Brilliant solution, let's do it.
okay, we can get legal advice on that if you want.
I would say these questions will become easier as we collect more information. That's already happening now.
Look, the reality is out there's a lot of misinformation, and I think we should take the positive view with an opportunity to correct things. Most people will respect that, we've been meeting with Groundswell over the records, there was a lot of misinformation. They actually appreciated us trying having the conversations and being able to come in and submit on things. So I think let's not get down and too far down, but you've got to treat threats as an opportunity, and I think we've got an opportunity to clarify. Okay, so that's it. You've got all you need there at the moment. Okay, on that note, after a continuous day, I will declare the meeting closed. Thank you for your contributions.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
I'd like to suggest